Well, hello. Rodney.
That was incredible, dude.
I had to beat your Jarvis. What's
Do it
behind
again.
you?
Oh, you put a little more on that one. I was like,
Yeah,
you took that up a notch. Bam.
I couldn't remember exactly what I did before. It was kind of on the fly.
I figured that's actually kind of why I asked you to do it again, because I was curious to see if you could do it again.
Well, it's now recorded, so we'll have proof. Speaking of impromptu, we're doing an impromptu episode of Kindo Town podcast.
Oh yeah.
I had
know what that means, right?
What?
That it means it's impromptu.
It means exactly just the thing you said. That's what it means.
That's what that means.
Do you know what that means? It means that I think that we are hilarious together, and I have a great time talking to you.
Oh, dude, same here, man.
And
who would have thought after almost 10 years of knowing each other, we would have just started liking the way we talk to each other?
I don't think I just started. I think I just realized. I couldn't think of a joke. I know. Who would have thought? No, but there's some. I've done a few podcasts now. I'm still like learning kind of like how to do it, but
yeah,
you know, like just in any sort of conversation, I always have a hilarious time with you. Like our back and forth, we could never stop. Literally, just back and forth references and laughing, and
this is
true. And we did the last podcast, like not even a week ago, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was 1 week ago.
Man, those chicken wings are so good.
Dude. Speaking of impromptu wings, how about that?
Yeah, that was I loved that you were definitely going to be down no matter what. I knew when I said, should we order chicken wings on the podcast right now? You're like, yep.
Yeah, man. I mean, because I've been like really watching what I eat and, been really, really good about it too. So that was kind of like my little treat. So it was perfect timing.
It was
perfect.
It kind of felt like what was kind of like remember when we did Friend Prov?
Yeah, oh dude, absolutely. That was one of the most fun experiences of my entire.
Did you love it?
Dude, I loved it. We did it for a month, right?
Yeah, well let's explain, I guess, because people won't know what a Friend Prov is, but it was an improv class
let's leave them in the dark.
Let's leave them in the dark. You don't want to listen to us. All you want to do is hear us speak to each other in our own language.
Explain it. What do you mean? No, let's let them grasp it. Come on, let them grasp it.
Explaining.
That's the fun part.
Would you say what park? Jurassic Park?
No, I said I can't remember.
Oh, it sounded like Jurassic Park, but I thought it could have been a joke, like grasping park or something. But yeah, it was an improv thing that we did. We have our friend Leah Evans. She's like a queen bee in the indie improv scene in New York, and
she's awesome.
She's incredible. She basically gave all of our friends, the Kindo guys, and many more friends that in our circle, a crash course.
Yeah.
In how to do improv. And we called it friend prop. I think we did it for like.
I feel like it was four.
It twice.
Yeah.
4?
Yeah. I think it was each one was like 4 weeks or something like that. So I think it was like a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Per crash course, and it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad it happened. It was hard to put together because of everybody's schedules, and like obviously now that you've done it, you see why like it's important. Like, okay, let's be here all 4 weeks because like you're learning together. You're, first of all, we're friends already, so like,
yeah,
that's part of like doing improv comedy or whatever, is that you don't know the people, so you can't really like trust them,
yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
It was cool, like just having that, like the banter that we all have as friends already. That adds to it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's like
Cool.
because I took a bunch of like classes at like the Magnet Theater, and it was really
Yeah,
really
I
fun.
remember. Mhm.
The only thing about those classes, number one, they're expensive, and like $50 like a class or whatever.
Mhm.
But you're getting taught by like the best
Yeah.
teachers. But
Yeah.
the thing is like you have these like these 8-week classes, and then you're just meeting everybody, and it takes really by like week 3, 4, 5, everyone's kind of like warmed up to each other, and like,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
it's almost done.
Yeah.
And that was like the biggest part of the whole experience. I'm like, man, I don't like taking these new classes and then having to learn everybody while I'm learning and being vulnerable. And then I had the idea of friend prov, and it was like what, $10 a person
Yeah. Yeah.
for the room, and
Yeah, man, it was super awesome, man. It was so cool. Do you remember the very first time I got called up on stage to perform an improv scene?
oh,
It was before
remind
we
me.
did the our friend prov. It was I'm not sure if it was like it wasn't like your final show or something like that, but it was in Midtown. And like toward the end of the actual show, they just asked for volunteers. Like, did anyone want to come up and interact with somebody? And I just raised my hand, and that was my very first time. And we had to
I
talk about Thai food.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, was it at like Triple Crown in the basement, like at that Irish bar? Was that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
that place is like it's like a wonderful place. It's a weird, wonderful place for improv. It's like a weird
Yeah.
dive bar for like musicians, but
Hmm. Hmm.
like if the trio went in to this weird dive bar, and like no one came really, but there was like
Yeah.
20 regulars there. That's what that
Yeah.
place is kind of like.
That's right. That's what that
Um,
place was. Man. Oh, geez, you mentioned a trio. Now I'm just thinking of like just venues and playing in crazy places.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny even thinking about improv, because it was something I used to do a lot, but
Yeah.
I got too busy playing gigs, so I couldn't. It was a good problem to have, but
Right.
I always
Right.
was. You know, I knew like eventually I'm going to get back to it. And then, the pandemic had everything shut down for this year, and there's been none of that. Gigs, improv, nothing.
Which is almost last year. How about that?
Yeah.
Like this year is lit. Well, that happens every year, but it's just. But obviously, obviously, 2020 being what it is, it's so weird, and I guess you know. Some people would consider it relieving, and like let's move on. But it's like, wow, this whole thing started in March, man. All like the shutdown and everything, and quarantine, and here we are, 2 days away from New Year's Eve, which is crazy, man.
Yeah, that was definitely wild, because I remember we were on the road.
Yeah.
Was it January, February? And we're
Yep.
hearing about it. It hadn't come to the States yet, I don't believe.
Mm.
And we were
No.
like, world's freaking out about this virus. And then it came over here. It's like, okay. And then pretty quick, it was like, oh, they're going to shut everything down. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's like impossible though. But it happened quick. It happened real quick, and you got it like right away.
Yeah.
And it was like all of a sudden it was real.
What was crazy was the fact that like they were talking about it, and it was in the news and everything. And like you said, it happened so fast, man. Like I didn't think, like when they were first talking quarantining and shutting down, much like so many other people, I'm assuming, I was like, well, it's probably going to be a month, a couple of days, a week or whatever. You stay inside until they figure it out, and then it'll be all right. But obviously, and like you said, yeah, I got it like early, and it was New York City shut down. What was it, March? Like the 16th or something like that. Like officially, like because things were closing like as the days were progressing, like in March, early March, and into mid March. But on the 16th is when they were like, all right, that's it, not happening. Things are closed, and I had already started feeling sick 3 days before, which is just so crazy, man. And then I had to quarantine and, got through it, thankfully. And, but went through that whole thing, man. And it was, and like you said, it became real, like actually, like it was like, it wasn't just on the news anymore. It wasn't just on TV. It wasn't just, one side or the other side talking about it. It wasn't that. It was like an actual thing, It's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, man, it's December 29th, like this year actually went on. It was weird and crazy, but this year actually went on, and it's about to pass, and we're about to go into a new one. It's just weird, man.
Yeah. Time is weird and aging is weird. It's very weird. You're going to be 41.
Yeah, man. Yeah. 41, dude. I'm happy about it.
Years young.
Number 41. It's one of my favorite Dave Matthews songs, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love that song.
So that tune a lot with Alex and Ricky.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Man, so speaking of that, like Alex and Ricky are friends of ours that play around the city a lot, like cover gigs. Man, and
yeah, Alex Miller and Ricky Watts.
That was like a staple of like, at least every month or every 6 weeks or something, they would call me to fill in on a gig, and like, and they're just so fun. I just miss that they were like the center of like a just a fun little scene.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they're just awesome dudes. Like I love those two guys, man. Love those two dudes.
Yeah, if you don't like them and they don't like you, it's like that. I don't know how that's possible.
yeah, seriously. Seriously.
Well, that's a big, the biggest part of like doing cover gigs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is being, a lot of times it's being likable, or not really, but it's like you're bringing a fun vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like you think about it, like you said, it's a cover gig, so you're playing other people's songs, and like, believe it or not, you have to, in my opinion, you should approach that. You can't just approach it any other way, because again, you're playing somebody else's music, so there has to be something else that draws people to you. You know what I mean? Because people, they can just go and listen to the original versions of these songs if they choose to, But if you're adding on to it, if you're adding your character to it, that makes it even more fun, I think, for the listener. Because, like I said, you can go listen to the original recordings, all day, every day. But when you add a little something special and have fun with it, that makes it, and like Alice and Ricky do that with a lot of it, and it makes it even more enjoyable.
Those are like my thinking back on it, because it's been more than a year, I think, or almost at least, since I played with them. Like it's going to be it is now a memory in the past, like kind of far in the past, but I can see myself like in like when I'm older, like thinking back on like playing with those two dudes, with you, because it's not just Alex and Ricky, they're the epicenter, of course. But like that whole scene of like you would show up anytime you got a chance. You just bring sometimes nothing. You just bring your voice. You just literally get on stage and sing. And there was such a camaraderie and an understanding of like they want you to get up there and do stuff. If you're there and you play music, come on up. With also like we all know the balance of like not hogging the stage, because it's Alex and Ricky are there getting paid, it's their gig, but man, I also remember too, what's fun about those gigs, almost actually reminded me of like playing in church, because a lot of time like they know so many songs, and a lot of those songs, I don't know about a lot, but some of them I don't even think I've heard before, or if I've heard, or if I've heard it, I've because it's a popular tune, it's distant brain memory in the back, So go and you have to play those, and they don't have charts or anything. Like I made their Spotify playlist for them for me, like that was like towards. I thought I had already played so many gigs with them. I'm like, guys, just let me know your set list so I can like make a Spotify and I can just at least listen to the songs. But what it meant to like feel like it was in church was that they didn't care. They were like, just follow me. Like, okay. And sometimes it went well. Sometimes it was a struggle because there's all weird chord changes and but it's so funny because for the audience too, because they can see like we're just up there like trying to figure out like whenever like I would hit a wrong note or something. Like I have especially I'm like a confident sort of like player, and like okay, cool, I got this. So my mistakes would be like bam, 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 bam. Oh, not yet. So like really obvious. And in those gigs though, because it is what it is, it was funny. It was like he's like, you're trying, like just
it's light, man. It's light, like that's the thing, and that goes into just like having fun with something, with the situation that you're given, and the circumstance that you're in, just having fun with it. And I mean, there comes a point, there comes a time where you have to learn. And like when we did that Dave Matthews show, you remember that?
Oh, that was amazing. Yeah.
Like that's a different story. Like we had a blast, but everyone came prepared. Oh yeah. Everyone came to the table prepared.
Well, that was a different thing. That was like Alex put that on, and it was like here's the thing. Yeah. We're gonna learn this record and play tribute to it.
Like just for the listeners and viewers, we played the entire Under the Table and Dreaming, and from like start to finish, top to bottom. Number one to not number one. And it was, oh man, it was so much fun. It was so much fun because like when Alex asked me to play Kit for that one, I was so ecstatic, dude, because Carter Beauford, he's one of my all-time favorite drummers. And like he's probably my favorite like modern drummer, like within the last 25 years or so, like I just gravitate toward him and toward his sound and his style and his approach so much. So when he asked me to play, I was just like, wow, I felt honored. And I was like, okay, I got to make sure I lock these songs in, man, because it's Carter Beauford, man.
Yeah, man. and you killed it too, man. It was the right,
Oh, thank you.
the
Thank
right. Excuse me. Yeah, when he asked me to do it, I kind of came out of left field. Actually, no, because he'd been doing this series. But anyways,
Yeah.
he basically like do have a band, one band play the whole record, and then there would be another set of songs from that artist with like just then it's kind of an Alex and Ricky party, like, hey, learn these two songs, and basically like you just so I'd done that with like David Bowie, but when he asked me to do the full band, Dave Matthews, was not a fan of Dave Matthews, didn't really like listen, but all I knew was like, yeah, that bass player is ridiculous though. Like that's the thing I would always think about Dave Matthews, but whenever I heard Dave Matthews songs, like that bass player. So he asked me to do it, and I said, yeah. I was like pumped, but we're not getting paid. And not that was about that, but the amount of preparation I put in for that. It was like I was learning Vertical Horizon songs, you know, but they're harder these times. It was that much work, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. Dude, and you killed it too, man. Like I said, everybody just brought it, man, and it was so beautiful to hear, because I love those tunes, and you know that album is incredible. So it was just awesome just to hear everybody just bring it, you know. Like it was really something, man. Really something.
It's a cool record. What was actually another cool thing about that experience for me was Alex and John Schmidt were like, they grew up on that record. Like it was a big deal for them to do that record. And it was, and then there's me literally listening to it and discovering it for the first time. I mean, there was a song or two on there that I knew, of course, but most I didn't.
Right.
They are not intuitive songs, you know.
No.
Yeah, Dave Matthews is
like if you just, you know, show up and expect to just, you know, just know it, and just all right, this is basic here, basic chord here, basic chord changes here, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but no. and listen, and I'm not tooting, you know, our own horn, but Kindo is in that. But Kindo is in that wheelhouse too, man. You know, and I would say this even before I, you know, became a member and before I joined the band, you know, when I just used to listen to Kindo, dude, this is a band, and these are tunes that you can't just say, all right, yeah, it's going to be a basic chord progression and, you know, easy peasy, 1 to 4 to 5. No, it's not that, because then, okay, you get that, but then the rhythms change and the time signatures change. You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta put in that work, man. When it comes to certain songs and certain bands and, you know, certain types of music, it's really something, man. It's really something. Yeah. It's not all just 1, 2, 3. You know, which some of the greatest songs are. You know, that basic. You know, but some of them aren't. You know.
I was especially in the beginning of the band. I was always appreciated when people were like, man, they're such great musicians. But I was surprised, like not surprised because I didn't think we were good musicians, but I was like, huh, I never thought of it like that, right? Because I think that we are, right, we're at a certain level of proficiency to be able to play this stuff. But I think that for me, the thing that goes under the radar and the thing that actually makes this, they go in tandem, but it really makes it successful is the songs, like the songwriting. I mean, we are learning, we're still learning, but I still, you know, older tunes, especially, were a couple minutes longer than maybe they would be if we wrote them now. But the melodies, the songwriting, the stuff like that, that's that's the stuff I remember.
Yeah.
And when we first started playing as Kindo, I was so pumped to play play these songs in front of people,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, do you know what I mean by that? Like, I never felt, there has been pressure put on us by ourselves, mainly to like be a better musician, or if we're playing a gig and the bands are great musicians.
Sure.
For me, I've never that stuff inspires me, but I've never been like, oh man, I don't know if we can play in front of these guys. We got to bring our A game. I was always just like, no, we will. We do Kindo. We do it really well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like
that's like the beauty of it is, when you can develop trust, in your fellow band members, it's a team. It's a team. You think about it like at any other kind of team, man. Football, basketball, baseball, anything. If everyone puts in their individual work and does their part, when you come together, it's like, yeah, we're doing this. Like, we're a unit, And
yeah.
it's a really awesome feeling when you think about it, man. It's a really, really great feeling, because you know that when you know your stuff, and that, like as a drummer, when you're hitting and your hit lands, you just know that the bass player is going to land right there with you. That you know what I mean? Like, it's such a great feeling, man. It's one of those unmatched feelings, of being a musician, in my opinion.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, like I agree, man. Like I guess mainly what I was saying, I was more like, there was a buzz about the band when we first started, and that's what was the main thing that was being said, which is amazing and flattering.
Yeah.
But I was always a little confused, like, because I guess that's not why I listen to music. Sometimes I will, right? But
so why do you listen to music? Well, most of the time, for the most part.
Why do I listen to music? Oh, geez, I mean, that's a loaded question.
It is. Give me 3 reasons why you listen to music.
3 reasons. First one is feeling. Like if I'm feeling a certain way and I want to, like, if I'm feeling sad, I'll most likely put on sadder songs as opposed to happy ones or whatever, right? Because it's sort of like it allows me to explore and the emotions I'm going through, and by like the music, by people or who are like providing music that could relate or kind of are in the same wheelhouse. So feeling. And the other reason I listen to music, to study. Sometimes sometimes I can't shut that part. I don't know if you relate, but sometimes I can't shut the study part of my brain off when I turn on music, which, when I'm glad that I have this, I've studied so much of it. But it's hard to just shut it off sometimes. Like when I've actually been able to do that recently. Been like just going through the Radiohead catalog, and just kind of like, here's a band where I've studied, I know the parts, I grew up with it, and I haven't listened to it in a long time, really. And it's just kind of like, you know what? I think I need to just go through and listen to all this again. And it was just let it hit me. and it was really cool.
Yeah.
And then the third reason, because it's music is fun, it's awesome. And I love playing it a lot. I don't know if those were good answers. I like it.
Dude,
gosh darn it.
Those are your answers, man. Those are your answers. So I mean, yeah, honestly,
are those
man,
good answers? They're your answers.
Those are your answers, dude. You know, so anyone who thinks that they're good or bad, like whatever, who cares? They're my answers, you know. Like, yeah, man, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like,
well,
I listen to music because I love melody. I just love sound, melodic sound. Yeah, so that'll be the first reason why. Because even like I guess I'm kind of the opposite. Not really the opposite, like great, like black and white opposite, but no pun intended, because we are black and white. But when it comes to like my emotions, even if I'm like sad and down in the dumps, sometimes I'll just put like I'll just put a shuffle on, and I don't care what plays. It can be the happiest song in the world. I'll still listen to it, even if I'm like unbelievably sad or angry, you know, and vice versa. If I'm really, really happy and a sad song comes on, I'll let it play, because I don't know. I guess in those moments, I don't really, I'm not going to say I don't, but it doesn't really hit me emotionally in those moments, you know, because I'm not trying to heal my emotions through music in those moments. You know what I mean? I'm just listening. I'm just loving what I'm hearing, you know? So again, it goes back to that whole just loving the melodic sound, and, you know, I love that. That's my first reason. My second one would be I just love playing music. So if I hear it in my mind, I'm playing it, you know, like as I'm listening to it in my mind, I'm performing these songs, you know.
Yeah, though that's a very unique gift that you have. I mean, I will say, like, you know, all of us have it to a little degree, but you're a human jukebox. Like, you like, hey, here are, you know, so many times like we play for artists, and we're like, you hear the song, you're like, great, and like at one point, like you didn't even have a drum kit to practice on, but you would show up, know the whole song, the whole set.
Yeah. You know, you know what's funny? I think that came from it came from church, actually.
Yeah.
Because you know, growing up, especially in my church where I grew up, there was so many musicians, so many, you know, and it was like you had to kind of get it where you could fit in, you know, because especially when it came to drums, there was only one drum kit, you know what I mean? So you could, you know, you could have like multiple, you can have an organ player, you can have a keyboard player, you can have another keyboard player, you can have two guitar players, you can have, you know, but when it came to drums, it's like there's only one. So
Were you like, oh, sorry, go ahead. No, I interrupted, sorry.
I kind of took it upon myself to learn multiple instruments, but with that, it came learning all the different parts to songs, you know, because I'm like, it would get to a point, and I'm talking when I was a teenager, it would get to the point where I loved making music and playing music so much that if every instrument was, if every instrument were taken by someone, I'd look around and say, all right, well, that's free, so I'm going to pick that up and play it. You know what I mean? But with that, like I said, with that came that whole thing of me when I'm hearing a song and learning a song, even if I'm not learning a song, I'm hearing every part and I'm learning and I'm retaining multiple parts. It's so crazy. I mean, I love it. I love the fact that I do that because I don't know, it exposes my brain to just more music, and I'm just like, well, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. I like that.
Yeah, well, it's a good example of just surrounding yourself and immersing yourself with music and
Yeah.
what that does to you. And man, there is no better place to do that than church. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not really a believer per se, or not that I'm against it, but you know, but I think that I was thinking about, like, for my kids, right? Like if I have kids or whatever, and they want to play music, I'd be like, we're finding a church. Like, I'm going there because really the reason is because, like, if you want to play music, got to get your reps in, you know.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
but not like reps as in, like, you know, it's like they're going to let you play as much as you want, and they want you to, and they're going to encourage you. It's so weird because, like,
right.
Man, I remember when I started playing bass. I played guitar before, but when I started playing bass, I just played one show for my friend, and all of a sudden I'm a bass player because the church is like, "Can you play bass here?" And then it just what?
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask you with you know, like I was explaining, you would come in and just listen to the songs, and you would know the whole set. Probably sometimes without even touching the kit on these songs, you just listen to it. But no, that's a great thing. That's what pros do. But with church on the drums, was it different sometimes? Because were you always playing a full song? But a lot of it had to have been kind of go with the flow where the worship leader wanted to go, right? Stuff like that.
Well, no, I mean, there were, I think I know what you're asking. So there were actual parts, and there was a structure, because my church was unique. We didn't really, I didn't grow up with like the worship segment of like the typical worship leader, and worship, I grew up in more of the choir, like the big mass choir, setting. So songs were definitely, were very, we had parts, and it was strict. We had the verse and chorus and bridge and second verse and all that. But usually toward like the end of the song, when we would get into like the vamp of the song, then it was kind of like we would kind of start not doing our own thing, but the band, we would kind of add parts, and we would improv a little bit, and then like the choir director would think of something and look at us and say, all right, I want you to go here, and so
yeah, that's exactly what I was what I was talking about. I thought that you probably went through something like that because the worship songs, songs in general, you have we'll call it verse chorus, bridge chorus, right? With some variations, but like pretty much with like the worship songs, like, oh yeah, I know the song, play the song. But towards the end or something, when you're just vamping and you're following the spirit, right? Or if it's like, it's not just you're vamping, you're like, you're feeling the room. You got the worship leader who's, helping you guys or everyone else out. Sometimes you got to play soft or not at all, or like you got to bring it up. And sometimes like, you could just probably feel it where like, it's like a quiet moment, and then you're just like,
yeah.
And because you did that, the band does it, and that brings the energy up, or the spirit back.
It's really a beautiful thing, and like I'm glad, like I'm glad that my parents raised my brothers and I in that environment. like, especially when it comes to music, you know, because that's where we all learn how to play. And yeah, man, it was yeah, because the thing is, it's kind of like, depending on the kind of the church you're going to, they'll kind of just throw you into the fire and, you know, say, all right, go ahead, play a song, you know, on Sunday morning in front of everybody, you know, and see what's like, there you go. Let's see if you sink or swim. And like I'll tell you a story, man. I'll tell all you guys a story because we have people listening. We have to remember that. It's not just me and you talking. It feels like it though. It feels like we're just in the same room just talking, but we have an audience. but yeah, so when I first started playing in church, I was about 12 or 13 years old, playing drums. And so my church at the time, it was one of the most, it still is like really well-known churches in New York City. And so we would have like, we had like a telecast, so we had like cameras and lights and everything, and that whole, and we'd also we had a radio. We'd be on the radio on Sunday nights.
Was it like a
live.
gospel church?
Yeah. So we had a slot on the radio every Sunday night, a live slot for an hour. So we go live, you know, every Sunday for the whole tri-state area to hear. So that was just like the norm to me. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yeah, we you know. But then one day, a friend of mine, the drummer who was you know, above me, he was a little older than me. I'm still one of my good friends to this day. He was like, okay, I want to start grooming you to take over for me, you know, because I'm not going to be here all the time, and I'm not going to play. I'm going to do some other things. And he ended up getting married and actually just celebrated his 25th anniversary. So that'll just show you how long ago that was. So
I had it muted, but I was like, wow.
Yeah. Like a few days ago, him and his wife, they celebrated their 25th anniversary. But so as he's prepping me, you know, he's like, okay, he let me play a song, one or two songs here, you know. Then one Sunday, he told me, he said, okay, next Sunday night, it's all on you. Like, you're playing everything. I'm not going to be here. It's all on you. And I was like, okay. Now, the only reason why I was nervous is because I had time to be nervous. You know what I mean? I had an entire week to be nervous. It wasn't like it was like right on the spot, you know, oh, we need somebody to play right now, play. I had a week to think about it and get nervous about it, you know.
That's the worst.
Because the thing was, I didn't know what songs they were going to sing. I had no advanced set list or anything like that. They would decide, you know, about an hour before going to sing.
No. Why were you? Well, this is a dumb question. I don't mean it like this, but like, why were you nervous? In a sense, if I didn't know what the songs were going to be, that's a little freeing. But what about that made you nervous?
Just thinking about just messing up, regardless of what the songs were. That was like the main thing that was in my head, you know, messing up. What if I mess up? You know, or
how old were you? You said 13?
I was 13, let's see, 20. I was, about 14, 13, 14. Yeah. So yeah, man. So it was really just that, just the I guess the classic fear of just messing up, you know, going off time. Even though I could play, I had time, you know, but it was just those thinking I'm gonna make a little stupid mistake, you know what I mean? But it was fine, and it turned out just fine. And from that point on, I became the drummer for my church, you know, for years. It would be years. I mean, over 20 years that I would, you know, play, you know, on Sundays, and at some point I was playing for almost every choir, and there were about four main choirs in the church. So, you know, but it was that initial fear that I had to get over, you know, and and remind myself that this is what you love. Even back then I had such a passion for it, such a love for it, for just making music and playing music. And I had to remind myself, in that week that I had to be nervous, I was like, no, but this is what you love to do, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you kind of like, I mean, you're so young too. That's so cool. You almost had nothing to lose because
Right.
you're put in that position, and now you're just like, all right. A lot of people don't even get put in this position,
Right.
So like,
right. Yeah.
I had a similar thing happen. I actually had a question I want to ask you, but it will change the subject just a little bit.
Mhm.
The when I first got the gig with Vertical Horizon, you were you in JB3 when I got the call, I think, right?
I don't know if I was there when you got the initial call.
I can't remember. It's just so
It
long
may
ago.
have been, maybe it was shortly, maybe a little before I joined. Maybe
Maybe it was
not too long
Candelia.
before, but I don't think I was there when you got the initial call for Vertical.
It was like, well, when it confirmed, because I talked to Matt, and then Derek, their manager, called me during a JB3 rehearsal. And I obviously had to take time to take it. Anyway, long story short, when I was, it's a big, Vertical Horizon's a big known band.
Yeah.
Songs, I was surprised at how many songs that I knew just from being, you know what I mean? Great songs.
So good, man.
That sounded like I was surprised at how many songs I knew. Like this little band, Vertical.
No,
like,
I hear you. I hear where you're coming from, man.
Because they, Matt has just written so many great songs that are just out there that you're like, oh, this one too. Not just Everything You Want. It's crazy. And when I was talking to him on the phone, he's in LA. Everyone's in different city. I'm like, okay, great. So like, about their rehearsals, and he said, he's like, no, I at this stage in the game, I find that rehearsals just kind of kill the vibe of what's going on. So I'll give you the songs. There are 14 songs. It's an hour and a half of music. Because again, just learn them and play them.
Yeah.
And he's like, and we'll go over a couple in sound check. And I'm like, sound check's not a place to like properly rehearse a song,
Right.
And the first gig is in Qatar in the Middle East.
I remember that. I remember when you were there.
Yeah.
When you went over there.
So I didn't even know the guys except for talking on the phone a couple times, and I had to go and play an hour and a half of music. I'm 100% trying out at the gig.
Yeah.
That was frightening, but I remember that was the most frightening musical experience I've ever had.
Right.
But what I remember was I didn't even think about it. I just said yes, because I was like, well, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Like if I don't do well, then well, it's kind of embarrassing, and probably won't get a call back, and maybe my name's out there like, don't hire this guy.
Yeah.
But like, I couldn't say what do I do if I said no, because I was nervous.
Yeah.
It was just
man. It's like that's the thing when you about like nerves and being nervous. Like it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing, man. But it's all about how you get past it and how you use it. Like you have to use it to get through whatever it is you have to do. You know what I mean? You have to use that energy, that fear. It has to drive you.
Yeah, it's like I think you'll relate to this too. It's like, so like I'm learning these tunes. I'm going based off the record. And when you play music to a record, that song's already recorded, it's strange how much that's a kind of like training wheels, although it's very beneficial to do, very beneficial. But then when I experience this, like when I'm rehearsing Kindo songs for like rehearsals and stuff, because when I get in the room, it's like, oh, like we're just people here. This isn't recorded. If I flub a note or something, like that's going to be heard and mess people up. Maybe the drummer for a few bars is going a little fast. There's so many variables when playing it live, right?
Yeah, man.
And that very thing was the thing I was thinking about the whole time. Like I know these songs. I'm not worried about that. But when you're on stage, lots of things could go wrong. And what if like Matt sings a wrong lyric or a wrong chord? It's like, I've crammed these in a month. I didn't like write these songs, you know what I mean? So like there's, do you know what I'm saying? Like those variables, that's what I was nervous about. Because those are things I couldn't control. What I could control is how well I knew the songs, and I knew them very well.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like we were saying earlier, knowing what you're supposed to do and holding up your end of the bargain, and you know what I mean, and being responsible for the thing that you're responsible for. And then it's that trust that comes in, like, okay, I know that he's gonna know his part, he's gonna know, you know. And yeah, of course, things a lot can go wrong, and things do go wrong during a live show, you know. Yeah.
I'll say this.
But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of again, having that trust, because then it's like, okay, we can kill it together, but we can also recover from this mess up together. You know what I mean? Like that's one of those awesome things about being in a band and being on a team. You know, it's like in the good and the bad, you have to come together. Yeah.
The last thing I'll say to put a pin on this, then I had another pin and a different question I wanted to ask you.
Pin it up.
Pin it up, buttercup, buttercup, buttercup. Pin it up, buttercup.
Pin it up. Sorry, I'm still.
The thing that he said to me after the gig was, and I promise you why I'm saying this is because it's going to sound like I'm boasting, but
oh God, here we go.
Do you even know what boasting means?
I do.
What does it mean? Go ahead, go.
What you're about to do. Continue.
Oh man. Well, Rodney, this is a trust fall. No, what he said to me was, so I played the gig, right? Terrified the whole time. I don't think I had room to have fun. I did, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like deer in the headlights, do the best job you can. I'm also trying out whatever. And, you know, I by the way, I asked him, was like, is it okay if I bring charts on the stage? He's like, yeah, you can bring some charts. Where I draw the line is like a music stand. I'm like, oh, no worries. It would be like, but I don't play well on charts. So I was just like, I wrote some charts out. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I just got to learn the tunes. So I did. And the thing that he said to me after the gig was, he's like, Jeff, great job, man. He's like, who needs charts? I'm like, yeah. And kind of walked. And then he kind of walked away. And I'm like, it's kind of like, you know, like Lorne Michaels just says weird things, and you're like, what? But it was after a show, and then and he meant it. And then he goes, he told me once, he was like, he's so sweet. He goes, he called me 2 days afterwards. I got back to New York because I had a Kindo rehearsal actually. And he was like, Jeff, he's like, I want to say that it was, you played a perfect show. Like I called my mom and was like, yo, this guy, it's like, you're flawless. He's like, but he's like, only thing I heard is like you played the fifth instead of a root. And I was like, he heard that? Because I remember it.
Yeah.
And fifth instead of the root, once in a song somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
but like not he meant it as a compliment, and I know he did, but I was like even more scared. I'm like, he heard that in an hour and a half, 14 songs, he heard the one kind of not wrong note.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was like I couldn't take the compliment. I did, but I could, like, the whole, probably, and I have to tell Matt this, but for the next 6 months at least 50 gigs or something, I was terrified every time, because I'm like, he's gonna hear my wrong notes.
Yeah. It's yeah, man.
And then he made wrong notes and forgot lyrics, just like any other musician does. I'm like,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Totally, man.
What I was going to ask you is,
Mm-hmm.
when did you learn to play guitar? Like, when did you start to learn to play other instruments than your bag of tricks?
So, bass came. This is funny. When I was 17, for my 17th birthday, my brothers, all three of them, they chipped in and they bought me a bass because I was showing like just interest in playing bass, you know, at that point. And what I would do is I would just grab like a guitar and just play that E string, you know, that low E, and just, you know, bass notes, you know. So they were like, okay, Rodney wants to play bass. So they bought my first bass. And
did you know what you were doing when you were that young, playing the guitar like a bass?
I mean, yeah, I started to learn, you know, I just took it upon myself to learn just basics, you know, of, you know, what each fret was, and then, you know, it just started to grow from
And this
there.
was before you could learn the bass line, bum, 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 bum. It's like the stairway of having a bass line.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, man, it was that was, and then when they gave me the bass and I opened it, you know, for my birthday, my brother Ron, who plays keys, he told me, he said, okay, you have a year to learn how to play this, because so just to give you a little background, my church, the organization, every year they'd have like an annual convention of like all the different churches from all over the world would come and convene, you know, in one place, and have like, you know, big like concerts and like big services and basketball tournaments, and just huge just like gathering of just thousands of people. And the following year, New York was hosting it, because, you know, we'd go to different states and different cities every year, and New York was hosting it. So usually the city and state that hosted it, hey, there he is.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Look at that guy.
Look at this guy. Rodney is in the middle of a really great story. It's like one of those where like all eyes on Rodney. This was really like the time for him to talk. And you ruined it.
I'm good at that. Well, don't hesitate on my account. Just pick up where you left off.
Oh yeah, so for other people that are listening, Joey just joined the call here and ruined everything.
So Joey, I'm just telling Jeff about how I like started playing other instruments outside of drums, and I'm telling my bass story. So my brothers brought me the bass when I was 17. My brother told me, he said, you have a year, because the following year we were hosting the big convention. New York was hosting this convention. And usually what would happen is like the home and regional choirs of that particular city would be in charge of putting this massive choir together to sing at the, you know, big services. And we were going to be the musicians for that, you know. So my brother said, you know, he said, if you want to play bass for this convention coming up, you have a year to learn. And I said, okay. And I did. I started to learn, and, you know, I started to play more, you know, more bass in church and just in general. You know, I would practice drums, and I'd go and practice bass, and that was like my first experience playing bass, like in front of people, in front of like thousands of people, which is crazy to think about. But at that point I was 18, and you have that moment where you're 18, you're not afraid of anything really, you know what I mean? Like you're fearless. So
little did they know it only took you a day to learn.
Yeah, man. So it was really cool, man. And then I started playing piano just out of necessity. I kind of had to learn organ and organ actually. I really picked up like B3, organ.
Wow.
You had one of those?
Yeah.
With the foot pedals and everything?
Foot pedals and everything, man. And pulling out oh my gosh, yeah,
Joey,
man.
did Eventual have one of those? Right? Am I wrong?
They didn't have a B3.
No, but okay,
They had an organ, but it wasn't.
B3s are, oh man, it's something else. I mean, obviously, you guys and most of our listeners probably know, man. B3s are special, man.
Mm-hmm.
They are special, and you have that Leslie speaker, man. Oh, jeez, man. But I learned how to, for the most part, how to maneuver, and get some good sound out of a B3. I wasn't like killing it like my brother and all other guys, but and then other things just started to just come. It's like I said earlier, when something else was taken, I'm like, well, nobody's playing guitar, so I'm going to learn how to play guitar because I want to contribute. So that's really kind of how it happened, man. I just wanted to contribute. If it weren't because I had to learn, because you get to that point in church sometimes where you're like a little skimpy when musicians. So it's like, okay, there's nobody. We have 5 drummers here, but nobody's here to play piano. So you gotta. I know a couple chords, and kind of just went from there, man.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
I feel like church was definitely a place where it definitely fostered my musical inclination, and I didn't really start going to like a musical church at all until kind of high school. So I had already been playing like saxophone and stuff, but when I started going to church and there was like the band, I wanted to play in the band, and I already played a little bass, but that's really where I honed my skills, was playing all the time at church.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing how a house of worship can birth in you a love and a passion for music that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah, man.
Well, it gets you, it gets you connected to the feeling of what you're feeling inside and how to express that in your instrument, right? I didn't know that at the time because I'm just like learning to play and be on stage. But like at least our church, I think churches in general, the good ones, they want you to get into it. You're leading worship, the feeling, So I wasn't just like playing a G. It was just, it's playing a G. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Like for me, it taught me about connection, with the audience, because I would always approach it with this in mind. If there's only one person who and this is church, this is playing at Prohibition, at Red Lion, or when you're on tour playing in arenas. If there's one person that is feeling what you're putting out, then that's success. You've succeeded in reaching someone. You made someone's day or someone's night. And that's always been my approach. When I first started thinking about that, like in church, I'm like, wow, people come here every Sunday looking for something. And it also applies outside of church, and other venues and other settings and scenarios.
Alex and Ricky, our church.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, it's that connection is very special. It's very special because you never and another thing I always think about, you never know what somebody's leaving and going home to, you know? So you could be that person's reason, you know, I don't want to get dramatic, but you could be that person's one last reason to keep going, you know? Like,
yeah, but we play like these
real, man.
We play like these Sunday night services sometimes, and I always knew if the Bills lost, and because we're from Buffalo, if the Bills lost, we had to really bring it.
Well, that's looking different nowadays. We don't want to jinx it, but you know, things seem to be turning around. But and that's all I'm going to say about it, because I do not want an entire city saying that I jinxed it. So that's all I'm saying.
I should have got me a box of Josh Jacks.
Josh Jacks?
Yeah, he's got Josh Allen as cereal in Buffalo.
Oh,
it's like flute flakes, you know, when Doug fluted.
Is he like the quarterback or something?
Yeah, he's the quarterback. Yeah, he looks real good.
Oh yeah.
He's an attractive man.
Well, I'm sure of that too. I mean, you know, athletic build.
Yeah, he's a tall drink of water.
That's right.
What does that mean? What?
I don't know.
I've been called that.
Let's get an old woman on here.
I'm
Let's
gonna
get an
look
old
it
woman
up.
on here to
Actually,
tell us what
I'm
the hell
looking it
that
up.
means.
I've been called that, obviously, because I'm tall. I'm Joey. I'm sure you've been called a tall drink of water. But
maybe like 10% the amount of times that you have.
Okay, this is exactly the first thing that comes up in Google. This is great. It says, when someone is described as a tall drink of water or a tall glass of water, the meaning is that the person is generally long-legged, tall, and very attractive. It's not a common expression anymore. It says that. It's not a common expression anymore.
I love how it doesn't explain the water part, but okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. Maybe that it's refreshing to see an attractive, long-legged creature.
Maybe.
Drinking fresh water out of a stream, out of a cup, rather out of a glass, a tall glass. Vessel that is tall and glass, or drinking out of it.
With butterflies and doves fluttering around it.
Yeah.
The term originated in the United States and was presumably used in vaudeville performances. It was derived from earlier Scots lang drink. I don't know what lang drink is, but probably whiskey.
Probably. Okay, that makes okay. I get it. I get it.
Wait, do they drink whiskey in Scotland, or do they drink
Scotch? I'm sure.
Scotch and whiskey.
Whiskey, I drink Scotch.
They don't drink bourbon. No, I mean
bourbon's from Kentucky, right?
It is, and we were in Dublin in a hotel, and Jen ordered like a bourbon and Coke, and the bartender kind of like scoffed at her. Was like, which was the wrong move, because Jen just let loose a tirade of insults, told this lady off. It was insane. It was like out of a movie scene, and she storms off and she's hurling insults.
She did? Yeah. Was she already drunk or not?
I'm sure a little bit.
It doesn't matter.
I'm sure maybe a little bit. That doesn't matter. Like that would have probably happened anyways.
I love that. That's where your brain goes. That you order something and they scoff at you.
Because it's it's kind of like nose in the air, like, oh, bourbon, oh, gross.
Right. No, I would feel the same thing, but like I would just not do it, you know, because it's kind of not worth it. Like the scene it's gonna make, and yeah, maybe I'll say something to them.
It was quite a scene. The whole bar was just like, whoa, what the hell?
But when it
was the hotel bar too. It was the hotel bar.
Oh God! So she just went upstairs to her room. And
when those things happen, I am like, I can't, I'm just like glued. I'm like,
Oh yeah, I mean,
I
we
love
were
this
all
is
like,
happening.
"Oh, shit is going down right now. This is amazing." I'm also
Wait.
like semi like embarrassed because it's like we're with her and Jin, and like it was clear that we were with her, and then Jin like tells this lady off and leaves, and we're just chilling there like, so.
Can I have a bourbon and Coke? Wait, can you tell that the cab story? I love that. It's so short, but when she was in the cab.
Oh yeah, we were in London, and I think we had all been drinking, so there was definitely a lowered inhibitions. We had all crammed into this cab, and oh yeah, and we're driving the cab. He's like trying to like haggle with us, like how much we were gonna pay or something like that.
Oh boy.
And Jen is just like not having it, and she's like, she starts yelling at him like, "You're trying to rip us off. I know what you're trying to do." You know. He says, he's like, "Ma'am, calm down," and she just real quietly says, "Calmer than you are." It was so good. So good. It was a beautiful moment. We lost it. I lost it. It was incredible. Calmer than you are.
That's so good.
So good.
Oh, jeez.
I miss Jen so much, man. She's just like, she's like pure fire. Like that's her person. It's just this fiery, like wonderful, beautiful fire. You know, that's just like can't really control it. You can't tame it. It's wild. She's a riot. She makes us laugh so much.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, Rowan tour stories. Jeez.
I miss it.
I want more of those.
Me too. Today was admittedly like just, you know, it hits me every now and then, but I just like just feeling it today, man. Just like I don't like the world. I don't like what it is right now. It's so frustrating. Yeah. Who am I talking to? I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I really miss traveling and touring and performing and gigging, and you know, it was insane, but it was what I knew and what I loved, you know, and it's like, and to not have, I don't know like who I am. I'm like losing it. I'm like, who am I in this new world? It's crazy. I know you guys understand.
Right, because the thing is, you know, it's not that we couldn't plan a tour. It's not that we weren't selling like tickets to a tour, so we had to cancel the tour. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's like no touring. You just can't. So every same here. Every now and then it just hits me, man. Like it just like smacks me in the head. Like you can't do this, and no one knows when you'll be able to again. Mm-hmm. And you have to live with that. You know what I mean? It kind of rocks me every now and then, man. Like it kind of really, really hits me hard. And I have my moments. Where I just sit there and I'm just like, this really sucks.
Yeah. You know? At this point now, I think I'm starting to have a slightly different reaction to like when I get bummed like that. Like, I used to just like sink real. I would just like keep sinking and just be like, "Rrr." But now I'm like I have to like put something funny on. I need to like cheer myself up because I'm just bummed. This feeling will pass. Let's like put on some comedy or something like that, and it helps. You know, it helps. Even if I'm not laughing as much as I normally would, it's still something. You know.
Right.
That's
absolutely.
That's exactly what I do, and Bert Kreischer has been a complete gift. Brandon, I don't know if you're familiar with Bert, but I will familiarize you. He's just one of those people. He's one kind of like a Jin, where like he can't control himself, but he's not like awkward and brash. He's just sweet and kind and just exudes like puppy dog love, but talks over everybody he talks to, drinks way too much. He'll like be like, I drink too much. Okay, I'm gonna go running. And they'd be like, I'm gonna go running tomorrow. And he goes running. He doesn't run often. He decides to run 5 miles while drinking a glass of wine or a bottle of wine. Like he's just, everything about it is like, nothing makes sense. But he's just so funny. I like weird people.
Hey, there you go. And there are a lot of weird people around to like. But then I guess weird is relative, and weird is, what's the word I'm looking for? Subjective, you know.
I think I like people who I'm drawn to personalities that might like be outcast a little bit because they're like socially maybe like just different.
Yeah.
And like, some people just don't know how to be around them. I just love the humanity in people who are different because we take for granted all the ways that we are the same and how we behave in our social conventions. There's something interesting when like it's also like it's like toes this line, right? It toes this line of like, is this interesting or is this like weird and uncomfortable or awkward or unpleasant? Like there's this line it toes, and there's something about like something about being around that energy like heightens me or something like that. I'm like, what's gonna happen? It's like watching a storm, like a thunderstorm. Like, where's the next thunderbolt gonna come and land?
Yeah, I grew up with that, of course.
But it's like thrilling. It's like, oh wow.
I grew up with that, of course, with Tom Kemna. Like just it. I have even before that though, but I just have a weird. It also makes me uncomfortable, but I can't look away. In fact, I'm like looking, like I can't. What's happening? Even if I feel uncomfortable, like in a lot of the times, like with Tom and like other people that are weird like that, I'd be like, okay, this has gone to the realm of like kind of loony here, and I'm uncomfortable. But I'm going to ask some more questions. I'm going to have him talk some more, and I'm challenging myself too. Tom Kemna, for those listening, was my mom's husband. He recently, like last year or so, killed himself. But not to get too sad, don't worry about it because he's hilarious. But Rodney, do you remember the first time that you met him?
I remember this story.
I do.
So here's the thing. I knew you guys knew this story. We were there. We heard the story, and we're just laughing so hard because I want Rodney to tell the story.
Oh my gosh! Man.
This is my mom's husband, father of my 2 youngest siblings.
Oh man! So Kindo was playing in Buffalo. Was it Larkin Square? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So you guys were playing like in the middle of the show, of the set, and I'm like, this is when I'm just enjoying. Listen, I'm in the audience. I'm in front.
To be clear, you weren't playing with us yet. You were just there.
No, right. I was just there. I was, we drove up just for that show. So and obviously see you guys and hang out. So I'm there just enjoying the set. I'm loving it. And I'm standing like in front row. So Tom comes up to me, and we had exchanged like pleasantries, like, hey, how you doing? And but then he took it upon himself to come over to me and said, oh, I got some people that I want you to meet. So I said, oh, okay. So he walks me around like behind the stage, because it was outdoors, and you know there was like a whole other area, like grassy area behind the stage. And he took me to where all of the other Black people and Puerto Rican people were. And I guess he. Now listen, I think I get this from my dad, right? I wasn't offended at all, okay?
Oh, he's not offensive. He's not trying to be.
And I say I get it from my dad because my dad always taught me, my brothers and I, you know, how to tag people and understand where they're coming from as soon as you possibly can, especially when you're first meeting them. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of those moments where I was
Didn't he walk away though too? He just walked away. Did he introduce you to anybody?
No.
He's like, here you go, and then he walked away.
And he left. He walked away.
And
so
left
now I'm
you
back
to
there.
just
I'm back there with Steve with Patton's. Like some of his family was back there hanging out, you know. So I guess Tom just figured, hey, you know, meet some people who look like you too.
Oh my God.
But again, I was not offended because, like you said, Jarv, he wasn't being offensive.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I couldn't mean that more, because some would disagree, but I promise you that wasn't it. But that was my first. I think
it's important to say that he knew what he was doing, but he wasn't being offensive by it. He knew exactly what he was doing. He just left you. And then after
eventually,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so eventually I realized that, oh, all right, so I just left. I actually did say hi to some people, you know, because I knew that some of them were Patton's family. So I was like, hey, how you doing?
Oh my God.
Then I came back around and went back to the show.
Oh man.
And he didn't even address it at all the rest of the show.
You know what? I don't even think he like knows Steve's family at all. You know?
Tom, no. Tom was literally like he knows all of my friends and forgets all of their names and doesn't care, and so it's like, oh yeah, it's you. All right.
Oh man.
Cool. And he acts like he's not impressed, and then like 10 minutes later he's like, come on, let's go swimming, let's play chess, come on, you know, have a good. And they're like, oh no, like Jeff and I are going somewhere. No, you can go at any time. Like, we're here. I'm home. I'm with my family. You know, I need to have a good time. Like, let's go out. We'll swim. It's gonna be great. You know, we'll play some chess, have some ice cream. And you're like, what is going on?
Some ice cream.
No, that's what he would do. And the thing is, my favorite part about it is that if you took him up on that offer, he was serious, 100%.
Of course,
He would do it. You would go swimming. You would play chess. You would have some ice cream. Do exactly that. And if you leaned into it, you'd have a good time. It was weird because it's like,
gosh, man.
That level, I could never do. I'm too self-aware. I don't even know. I don't know what it is. It's just fascinating. But
yeah.
I think that we are.
Yeah, man. That was my moment. Meeting Tom. But it's like I said, man, and again, it goes back to like, and I try to do this. You know, I try to practice this tagging people. You know, and in those first moments of meeting them. You know, it's not always easy, and it's not always possible to just pin a personality down. But you know, you get an idea. You know, and then you know what I mean. But I mean, let's just be honest. Some people are just offensive and just horrible people. But for the most part, a lot of people misunderstood. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of people misunderstood.
That's a good word for it. It's like a misunderstood.
The last thing I really like say about that is my mom. She was telling me like, because this just gets more into the mind of Tom, which makes it even more funny. But like, obviously, we all know, and my mom knew, like when Tom was making somebody feel uncomfortable, which would be most of the time. But like he never saw it. He never saw it that he was making people feel uncomfortable. And he told my mom was having a conversation with him once, and she kind of like, I guess she kind of like told him like, yeah. But he was like, yo, I just met this guy. His name is making up a name, Kevin. He's great. Like we talked about this. We talked about flat Earth. Oh, it's so great, man. And we're gonna be good friends. And my mom's like, yeah, I saw the whole thing. That guy didn't even want to talk to you. It's like, well, what do you mean? You know, we were talking the whole time. She's like, no, you were talking the whole time. And there was a moment where like he kind of got it. And she was like, it was kind of sad because he was like, as much as it's obvious, he never got it, that it made people, you know what I mean? Which the reason to, like what you were saying, Rodney, when he did that unbelievable, unthinkable thing, you also knew that about him though. Like he wasn't trying to make you feel uncomfortable. He's just
like that. That's
around,
the thing.
But it was so offensive.
It's knowing intentions. You know what I'm saying? And realizing the intention. You know, and he was one of those people. He was one of those people where, you know, the intentions were probably genuine. You know what I mean? For the most part, like in his mind, he was doing something good, something nice, something to benefit someone and help someone. You know,
he would give you the
socially
shirt off of his back. Literally, he's done that. Like that. He's that guy. Oh, you need a guitar? Oh, I just got my 401k. Buy you a new guitar. Yeah, I saw this homeless guy and he needed like some food, so I invited over to my house and like gave him my coat and he slept on my bed and slept on the couch. You're like, what? Just like crazy. I mean, crazy, but like, it's a beautiful thing, but it's fascinating.
And there are so many people like that, man. So many people, you know, who just, you know, cast aside and say, "Oh no, you're crazy. I don't want to talk to you. I can't be." But you know, again, it's again, not everybody. You know, some people, unfortunately, will probably do some people harm. You know what I mean? And you definitely want to be aware and of those people. But for the most part, man, there are so many people like that who just have good intention and have a good heart. But socially, they may be a little awkward, and because most people would look at that and say, "Oh, that's abnormal, that's weird," because we don't function like that in this society. Then that person is looked at as cast away and an outcast, and but to actually take time to look into to get to know someone. Even again, even if it's just for a few minutes, you're not going to get someone's life story in 5-10 minutes, but sometimes you can kind of almost pinpoint where a lot of people are coming from, in that little bit of time, and again, like my dad is really, really good at that. I mean, so good at that, which is why he talks to everyone. Everyone comes to talk to him because he gives that off. He doesn't judge. That. He doesn't just judge right away. And it's a great quality when you think about it. And I try to take that on, and I try to show that to people, and I try to be like that, because it can be very disarming. When people, because some people may have experienced, being an outcast for so long that they're already approaching something with like anxiety,
Yeah, totally.
But if you actually show someone and let someone know, I'm not judging you. I'm not looking at you as if you're just weird, like I'm hearing you. You know what I'm saying? It can be disarming, and it can help, I think.
No,
I
man,
am.
you're right on the money. Right on the money.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think I have to get going, boys.
You just got here.
I know, but I got to pack and I've got to do yoga for my body so my body doesn't break.
Yeah,
I
you don't want that.
want to keep it moving, moving a long time. I'm crossing that 40-year-old threshold soon, Rodney.
Yeah,
On the
Joe.
horizon. But I can't,
Yes.
I don't want to deteriorate, like I got to keep this thing moving. This
Come
train's got
on over. Come
You're
on
just
over,
delaying the
dude.
inevitable, man.
Yeah. I'm just going to build a time machine and get it over with. Cheating.
What is that joke? Louis C.K.'s joke is like, most of what you'll ever be is dead.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah.
You're gonna be dead so much longer than you.
In fact, that's mostly what you'll be.
No, honestly, that's such a beautiful quote. I got to remember that. I want to kind of print that out.
It's a great quote. It seems like one of those
So
shower
ridiculous.
thoughts where you're like, ooh, ooh. Let me make that funny.
But Joe, it's always great to see and hear you, man.
Oh, I love you guys. You know what's funny, Ronnie, is tonight I was actually going to call you, and then Jeff told me about this. I'm like, well, look at that. That'll be great.
There you go.
Yeah.
You
So that's
that?
awesome.
Love it,
that.
dude. Love when that happens, man. Oh, it's so serendipitous.
Serendipitous. Hippopotamus.
Guys, should we order chicken wings right now?
Oh my God. Stop it. All right. I love you, boys.
Love you, Joe.
Love you,
To
Joey.
those listening, love you as well. Be well. Peace in the Middle East.
Bye, Joey.
Oh, I love that dude.
He's okay. He'll do. Well, I think that's a good note to end on, man. I think that's good.
I think so.
Great. I had a really, really good time.
As usual, dude.
You and I should do this more.
Yeah, let's just do this more.
I want to have on.
I just said the same thing, but I just slowed it down.
But do it slower.
Let's do this more.
I'm convinced. Now we have to. Yeah, this is so fun. Glad.
Yeah,
I'm really kind of. I just like this episode or whatever this is. It was just like, hey, I just want to hang out and record it, basically.
Yeah, like for those listening, Jeff texted me. He said, "Do you want to record something, a conversation?" I'm like, "Yeah."
I love that. I was 90% sure you would say yes. The 10% being, I'm on a date or I'm doing something else. Which, let's face it, I ain't doing any of that either. Just at home, doing nothing. Well, trying to like watch like Bill Burr videos I've never seen, which is difficult to find.
Oh, dude, same here.
You love Bill Burr too, right?
Oh, dude, I love Bill Burr. Yeah, he's so good, man.
You know what I realized about? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say some of my favorite videos of Bill Burr is him on Conan.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Because
women are so overrated.
the awesome thing about those two and their dynamic is they're both from Massachusetts. They're both New Englanders, but they're so different.
Yeah.
And it's such an amazing contrast because Conan just lets him go, obviously, you know, but it's just
Conan's a
it's
master
just
of
so
that.
cool.
Like Conan
Yeah,
is he's a
exactly.
master of like when someone's being hilarious, let him be. Like let
Yeah.
him dig himself into a hole because he kind of wants that
Mhm.
to happen. Bill Burr gets away with most of his jokes. They're really well thought, but he's such a likable person. When you hear him say it and speak it, it comes from an air of like, I just said this, but I don't take myself seriously. I'm nothing.
And he's one of those guys, one of those comedians, excuse me, who I mean, there are a lot of them, but he's one of the masters. Even if you're offended by it, the fact that it makes sense comedically, it's one of those, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh man, it makes sense. I don't like what he said and what,
that's the thing, right? It's like I know exactly what you mean, but like the goal of a comedian is to make you laugh. They're not a good comedian is not trying to really make statements and like stances. They're just like, here are my weird thoughts. I'm trying to now make it funny,
right?
You know,
right, right, yeah.
And he does that real well because like he's just trying to make you laugh. That's all he's trying to do.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
One of my favorite jokes he said was I'm not going to quote it. It'll take too long to explain. And I'm not Bill Burr, but yeah, he's just like when he like leans on the microphone, he's just like, and basically he's just laughing at himself.
Dude, that is, I love that, man.
You know what? This joke is quick and it's good. He was like, his joke about marriage. He's like, I don't know. He's married and has 2 kids now, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has a 3rd on the way. But
really? Oh no. Okay.
No, maybe he has a 2nd on the way. I forget.
I think 2nd maybe on the way.
Maybe that's what. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was talking about marriage before he was married, but he's with Nia for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, yeah, marriage. I don't think I'm ever gonna get married. If you ever check the stats, about marriage, like 50% of marriages fail. Now, if I were jumping out of a plane and they told me I had a 50% chance of my parachute opening or not, I'm not going. I'm not doing it. Dude, it's a perfect joke because like he actually didn't make any sort of statement about anything other than if you make those 2 correlations, it's in a fact that probably you should think about, but it's just funny if you put it in those terms,
Right. Absolutely, man.
So, Rodney, what I know of you is that you do like to laugh, right?
I love to laugh.
So I would like to gift you with Bert Kreischer.
Okay.
Have you ever checked him out?
No.
Do you have Netflix?
I do.
Do you have time?
No. I do.
There's I'm telling it to you and to everyone listening, there's a special called The Machine. Bert Kreischer, The Machine. And it is this person, kind of like a Tom Kemna in the sense of like an anomaly. Bert Kreischer is so lovable and just he's overweight, always performs with his shirt off, always.
Yeah, all right. I love it already.
He is uniquely naive.
Yeah.
But self-aware. It's a very strange thing because some of the jokes that he and the stories that have happened to him and the things that he's telling, I'm like, you don't know how funny that is, do you? But he's a comedian, so like he does. But like when you watch like someone like Bill Burr, it's like he's got that craft. He knows what he's doing. Bert also does, but he's basically just telling these weird stories that happened to him.
I'm actually looking him up now. Oh, yeah. I know exactly who he is. Oh yeah, I know exactly who he is. Yeah, say no more.
There was this one of my favorite things he's ever said was on a podcast with him and Tom Segura. They have a Two Bears One Cave. It's a podcast. He goes,
yeah.
He goes, they're like laughing. Like just like something happened that is hilarious, but like Bert is wheezing, like just like tears. Yeah. He's like got 7 Heinekens around him. Like he spilled beer in his shirt. He's a mess. He's just like laughing. And then like in the middle of this like moment where there's just like, it was like a 10-minute moment where they're just uncontrollably laughing. He just goes, I never have this much fun with my family. which is just like, it made the moment 5 minutes longer because like, what the hell? Because he loves his family. Like he talks about how much he loves his family.
I know exactly.
We all do. We all do.
I know exactly who. Oh yeah, I know exactly who he is.
But yeah, that you'll specifically like The Machine. There's a, I mean, maybe even type in like YouTube The Machine, and you can hear him just say that story of The Machine. But it's
Oh yeah, dude. I know exactly who he is. I've definitely heard like clips of him and have seen clips of him.
You know, I bought tickets to go see him in Atlantic City in July of last year, but it's been moved to next year, so I still have tickets.
Oh, I mean 2020.
2021. Yeah, I bought them I bought them. I think I bought them during the pandemic, and I'm like, Bert's gonna definitely come.
Surprise! Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch this one for sure,
dude.
I know exactly who he is.
Dude, let me know when you watch it. Like if you watch it tonight, text me. I'm gonna watch it. Hell, I'm gonna watch it. I've seen it like 3 times. It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for letting us put conversation into your ears. This was so fun.
This is so much fun, and for me as well. Thank you, everybody. It's just so much fun just talking to you, Jeff, and hopefully we bring levity and insight and life to people and light to people.
We may bring levity, and I don't know what that means, but we certainly don't bring brevity. What is levity?
Like laughter and light feelings and, just feeling good.
Oh yeah, except when I brought up how about my stepdad killed himself. That wasn't too levity.
Oh, that was insightful. That's the insightful part.
I laugh about it too. Obviously it's very sad, but it's life, man.
Yeah, it's life. It's life.
What you're always going to remember is that story. That story. That's part of the whole story.
I love how I can't think about that and not laugh and not crack up. As you saw, as soon as you mentioned the story, I knew exactly what you're talking about.
And Joey did, just like, yeah. I hope that, here's the thing, like, I think because like the way we're talking about it and the context, people that might listen, like all like 6 of you maybe, or 6,000 million, you'll get it. But like, it's objectively, if you wrote it on paper, it's not a kind of, it is funny, but it's when you know the person, right? It's just it seems way more offensive than it is. It's more naive than it is offensive.
Right. Exactly.
But he knew exactly what he was doing. It's so strange.
It's so good, man.
Man, I wish that you and Tom would have like got along. I wish that like you
Oh
like
yeah.
were around or like living in proximity to him, because like Joey, like he wasn't really close to Joey, but Joey would get a random call from Tom Kemna once or twice a year. Tom would just call and Joey would pick up. Joey was like, oh yeah, I always picked up. And Tom's like, hey Joey, what's going on? This is Jeff's dad. And just talk to him about nothing for like hours. And Joey's like, I didn't know that. Joey never, I think he told me once, but I didn't know that he did it like multiple times. I'm like, you never told me? And that's the funnier story, is that like Joey's just like, oh yeah, that's normal. Tom called me.
Yeah, that was their thing, man. That was between the two of them, dude.
Yeah, it definitely is. Oh man. Well, Rodney, I love you so much, man. Let's watch
Love
The
you,
Machine.
brother. Yeah, man. La Machina.
La Machina?
Yeah.
Ex Machina. All right, let's bring this baby out. Rodney, I want to hug you. Let's do like, yeah, I'm hugging my computer, but wow, my face does not look good when I do that. Okay. Well, I don't know how to end something like this. I'm just trying to make it awkward. So let's try to make this an awkward. Let's make this awkward. Like, okay, here we go. Well, guys, that was a podcast we did.
We talked and we made sounds and laughs.
Sometimes all things come to an end.
All dogs must come to an end in heaven, and that's where they go.
Most, here's the thing: most of what we're all mostly going to be is dead, and the podcast has to die now because
Yeah, because there's light in every one of us.
There's also there's darkness too, and
there's a lot of darkness.
And speaking of darkness, podcasts have to become dark and end. Darkness.
Darkness.
Like Chappelle. That was pretty awkward. I loved it.
I loved it. Yeah.
Dude, that every time we try to end a podcast, we should just do that bit. Like, okay, now we're gonna sign off now, but we're gonna try to make it as awkward as possible
and as weird as possible. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Stop.
Bye.
3, 2, bye.
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 Bye.